Okay, the organizers of that match in Manchester, which was held on the 18th of January 2015 by 1 p.m., have equally called for another one, which is coming up on the 7th of February by 4 p.m. Yeah, the turnout for the first one was very poor, and um, now that another date has been set for another one to do it better next time, what is your message to fellow Nigerians or black people in the UK or living in Manchester? What would you say, knowing that 7th of February is another opportunity by 4 p.m. to be able to draw the world attention to the massacre that happened in Baga?
The truth about life is that if you consider and regard and have respect for the life of your people, then other people will like attach that respect to your own life too. The demonstration that is coming up, every Nigerian, every African that is touched by what is happening in Nigeria has to participate in that demonstration. As a young man growing up, I recall when apartheid was existing in South Africa. I recall as a young man going to the streets demonstrating against apartheid. We were conscientized to understand that our fellow Africans were far away in South Africa suffering the apartheid system. We learned songs about South Africa. Sonny Okosun in Nigeria was rendering songs conscientizing us. It became an African issue. And suddenly, we don't care anymore about what happens to our neighbors. People are dying in Sudan. People are dying in Somalia. People are dying in Eritrea. And do we show any concern at all? No. Nigeria that used to go before to protect other nations like Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the rest, we now have terrorists within our own society. And Africans are not showing any concern. It, I don't know how to explain my disgust as to the attitude of our people. Black people generally, they need to wake up and begin to take responsibility for things happening to them and let the world understand, play a role to make sure that our race and our people are adequately taken care of and that we show concern when things that affect us. Otherwise, no other person will do that for us. We need to speak. We need to take responsibility for things happening with our children and in our society. Brothers and sisters, the organizers of I Am Baga 2 has planned another demonstration for the 7th of February, 4 p.m. in front of the Piccadilly station. Would you be there this time around?
Jail time.
Brothers and sisters, the organizers of the I Am Baga 2 has planned for another demonstration for you to show your love, your concern, and the urge to stop the atrocities that is happening in Nigeria. They have planned another demonstration for the 7th of February at 4 p.m. Will you be there at Piccadilly Gardens? Or would you find another reason not to be there? We have to show concern for things that are happening to our people. Our young women, our young boys, our women, our fathers and our uncles are dying every day in the north of Nigeria. Would you be there? Or would you find a reason? I urge you, no matter how busy your schedule is, make that day with history and let your voice be heard. We cannot continue to pretend that all is well with us when we know that all is not well. I have come down to Manchester to meet with some of the organizers. I am impressed with the preparation they are making. And I urge you to make sure that their efforts are not in vain. I watch and I hope that you will be there on that day. 7th of February, 4 p.m., Piccadilly Gardens. I am Bagger, and you can see I am Bagger too, because the feeling, the pain, and the agony the people in Bagger have gone through should touch every responsible soul in this world. I hope to see you there.
Mazi, there's been a lot of rapid change and developments in the world, the affairs of the world currently, and the social media as we know it today is a very veritable platform for dissemination of information, and quite an alarming number of people readily go online to obtain their information. And I was recently pulled up by someone who wasn't even a Nigerian, but someone who's a keen follower of black and African affairs and Nigerian issues. And he pointed out to me that he's noticed a surge, a rapid surge in the enlistment and the campaign and the agitation for the realization and actualization of restoration and of Biafra, the independence of Biafra. And as an Igbo leader, a very outspoken Igbo leader that is based in London, I wondered, have you noticed that surge? And if you have, what is your view? What's going on? Could you throw a bit more light into that situation?
I would honestly tell you that after the massacre of the genocide of 1967, the Nigerian nation declared a no victor, no vanquished situation. But then, were we vanquished as Igbos in Nigeria? Yes, or the southeast, the eastern part of Nigeria. We were vanquished. Nigeria was the victor. Now, looking at everything that has happened in Nigeria in the past years, the Igbo people have contributed so much in terms of infrastructural development in Nigeria, in terms of commerce development in Nigeria. Most people from the eastern part of Nigeria has gone to the length and breadth of Nigeria to establish businesses, build houses, and even begin to call those places home. And then suddenly you find this hatred, this surge of hatred against our people, reminiscent of what happened in 1967. Now we had the deportation of some Igbos from Lagos by Governor Fashola, which raised so much emotions. And then suddenly now we have Boko Haram in the north. Initially the attack was against the Christians and particularly the Igbos, and then suddenly now everybody's now feeling the pain in the north. I recall making a clarion call to all Igbos in the north to leave that place and come down to safer places in the south or the eastern part of Nigeria. Now, your question about the surge, one thing about life is that when people want to be free, you can suppress them. You can hold them to ransom. You can enslave them. But after some time, the slave that you have suppressed over the years will want to be free. We saw slavery in America, and after some time the blacks fought and they became free. We saw apartheid come into Zimbabwe and South Africa. After some time the blacks there wanted to be free. The question is that when you notice Nigeria today, suddenly from every nook and corner, the younger generation of people from the East who did not witness the war. I was young enough to have witnessed some part of the war. Now, these young men did not witness the war. But how come suddenly there is this surge that you have noticed for everybody moving towards the restoration of Biafra? The indigenous people of Biafra is beginning to gain ground on a daily basis. I did a slight analysis on Facebook, they are growing in thousands, in the millions these days. And these young men are not scared to tell you that they want to be free. The question is that, has Nigeria been able to provide for all the entities that make up that nation? Nigeria has not lived up to its expectation, up to the expectation of her citizens. There is no security in the country. There is no employment in the country. There is no water. Electricity is beyond human expectation. At the end of the day, when a nation cannot provide for her people, the people begin to seek refuge in their primordial society. So what you see today with the indigenous people of Biafra coming up, and even last 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, Ogoni even declared their own independence and they have their president. The Biafran struggle has been in existence for quite some time. Even has an executive in diaspora, in exile, a government in exile. So suddenly, this surge, I have witnessed it. And as far as I am concerned, the indigenous people of Biafra is something that is in the spirit, is in the soul of people. It is not something that a document, victored or vanquished, can take off. The Billion Human Rights Initiative went to court asking Nigeria, is it a crime to be called a Biafran? These things happening in the country, Nigeria is too complex to be won. We are all loyal to our primordial society. So we have to find a solution. And with the way things are going today, can we hope to see a Nigeria in the next 10 years? America said that Nigeria, some of the researchers in America said that Nigeria might fall apart in the year 2015. I do not believe that. But as far as I'm concerned, Nigeria needs to sit down and begin to discuss with all the components that make up that nation. If we want to be called Nigeria, then let us sit down and discuss the terms and conditions of being Nigeria. And if people cannot be free to live in other parts of Nigeria and do what their businesses and live their lives, then we should then discuss on alternatives. And if Biafra, it becomes an alternative, then why not? Arewa is in the north holding their meetings. Ekpamoduduwa is calling for a southern autonomy. Why wouldn't the indigenous people of Biafra do the same? Is it a crime for you to ask to be free from something, or from a marriage that is unholy, a marriage that is making you uncomfortable? I don't think it's an unexpected surge. And even very intelligent people from the southeast, from the eastern part of Nigeria, are beginning to understand the need for us to talk and sit down in Nigeria to find a way forward. If we have to be a nation, then we better function like a nation. And if we cannot function as a nation, then let everybody have a regional agreement and go back and build their society.
Thank you, Mazi, for that very insightful analysis and view into the situation. Thank you so much for the audience.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege being with you again today.